Welcome to the Ed Leaders Edge podcast, where we interview innovators and thought leaders in the field of education who are helping students thrive. I'm your host, Ed Madison. I'm a professor and researcher at the University of Oregon, an educational consultant, and serve as executive director of the Journalistic Learning Initiative, a nonprofit organization that empowers elementary, middle, and high school students to discover their voice, improve academic outcomes, and become self-directed learners through project-based storytelling. Welcome to our program. Well, welcome back to the podcast. Dr. Darrell Floyd is superintendent of schools at the Blue Ridge ISD School District in Blue Ridge, Texas, which is northeast of Dallas. Welcome, sir. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to start by just asking, around mental health and teens. We're reading so much in the headlines of concern, and I'm just curious kind of how you're addressing that in your district.
Well, I think it's definitely an issue for every school district in the nation that we want to make sure that our kids are taken care of, both educationally, academically, but also mentally and physically as well. And I think for a long time, that part of the mental health aspect has probably been pushed aside for whatever reason, but I think it's gradually moving to the forefront.
hmm Do you think that it's just was unrecognized before, or do you think it's more of a problem? And to what degree do you think it's related to screen time and all the things that we hear
I think
about
it's
social media?
probably been there to some degree all along, but there are probably different factors that have exacerbated that, I believe. I think nowadays we jump too quickly to blaming COVID for everything, but that might have had a part in it. Additional screen time that kids grow up with now could have a piece of that as well. But nevertheless, regardless of the cause, we need to address the issues that our kids are dealing with and make sure that we keep them as safe as we can and try to address them head on rather than sweeping it under the rug.
hmm Speaking of COVID, what I hear from other superintendents is that just in terms of behavior, particularly maybe some of the younger kids who maybe missed some of the social cues that we sort of take for granted about raising your hand or lining up before we exit the room and those kinds of things. Are you finding that as well, or because I noticed it was in terms of some of the older, like you've written a letter to the community, just saying, hey, at sporting events we need to be respectful, of the officials and realize that um, we can't let our emotions run amok.
Yeah, I think that's always a nice reminder each year as we start the football season and then go into basketball as well. That there are certain norms that we all need to agree upon, and we don't need to cross those lines because those officials are there to help us and. They're just human like we all are, and they're going to make mistakes, but you don't need to take that too far. But as far as students in the classroom, I do think that a lot of school districts are seeing an increase in emotionally disturbed classifications and students that might not have gotten some of those social skills uh, necessary to act accordingly in the classroom, like we know they should. But when they don't come to us fully prepared, we got to take kids from where they are and move them forward, and that's what we're charged with doing on a daily basis. And mental health and proper behavior and those type of things are all part of it. And we've got a very strong partnership with Capturing Kids' Hearts here in our school district, and that's Flip Flippin is the guy behind that effort for many years, and that's been a good program for our school district in trying to get at making sure that kids know what the proper behavior is, and there are certain norms that we go by in classrooms, and you can't act the same way in a classroom that you do outside the classroom at times.
Mm-hmm. Are you making any policies around, just access to phones or,
Mhm.
yeah?
Yep, we have a process in place where in some of our campuses where they put their phones in a holder when they come into the classroom, and only get them out if the teacher asks them to do some kind of research on their phone or some activity on their phone. So I think a lot of school districts are trying to walk that fine line of, yes, this is a tool that students can use, but at the same time, it's can also be a distraction in the classroom, and so we have to find a happy medium in there somewhere. And I think teachers are slowly but surely figuring that out.
Yeah. Speaking about tools and technology, AI is a hot topic. I'm just curious what you're thinking about in regards to that. Or let's step away from our conversation for a moment for me to tell you about the Journalistic Learning Initiative's innovative educational tools and services. Of special note is JLI's Comfort Corner initiative, a video library featuring near-peer role models sharing about their mental health journeys. This innovative resource destigmatizes mental health challenges, provides a gateway to seeking professional help, and supports your students in realizing they're not alone. If you're looking to make the best decision for your teaching staff and students about AI adoption, improving student engagement, strengthening writing skills, promoting social media mindfulness, or enhancing college and career readiness, please take a moment to visit our website at journalisticlearning.org. Our team of University of Oregon researchers offer customized AI tools, instructional materials, professional development, and consulting. Research confirms that students with journalistic learning experience outperform their peers on numerous key indicators for college and career readiness. At the heart of our work is empowering learners to become effective communicators. If you think about it, effective communication is critical in every human interaction, whether it's writing an essay for a grade or being interviewed to secure employment. Since 2015, JLI has benefited nearly 20,000 students and served schools in 15 states and the District of Columbia. I invite you to schedule an appointment to explore how JLI can improve your students' learning outcomes. Now back to our program.
Yep, it's definitely a tool that teachers and all educators are going to have to embrace because it's not going away. And I can speak to that from several different levels. One, from my perspective as superintendent of schools, I think ChatGPT and AI and other programs like that are can be very helpful, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for students sometimes to skirt the effort a little bit, and so then I can speak to it also from having chaired dissertation committees for higher education. I do adjunct work for several universities in their graduate programs, and so if you think it's an issue in public schools, it also is somewhat of an issue in higher education, especially at the graduate level, because when graduate student, a doctoral student, for instance, turns in a different drafts of their dissertation, is that person actually doing the work, or is that person relying too heavily on AI tools to do the work for them?
And where is that line? And how do you determine when it's a sort of a, bold frontier here? Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
it is a difficult demarcation line to figure out because the tool is there for students to use, and should we penalize them for getting access to tools that are learning tools? And I think it can be used properly, but it takes a little bit of education as to and communication, I would say, between the student and the instructor to say, look, we all know that this is out there. Not necessarily discouraging you from using it, but don't rely too heavily on that, because you still need to be the one doing the work. But if you want to use ChatGPT, for instance, to help you draft some document, I think that's fine. But understand that you are the one that needs to prompt that, put the appropriate prompts in there to then take a look at Chat GPT, what it spits out, and then revise it appropriately. I think all that's legit, but it's something that we are going to have to find a way to get used to and embrace in education.
Let me ask you about just the sort of general public perception of public education. We're seeing in some, particularly in some urban communities, where just the voucher movement is affecting school budgets and making it difficult for some school districts to meet the needs of the greater number of students who may not have the ability to send their kid across, for a kid to go across town to a preferable school, and the like. But I mean, the real question I'm asking is, how do we put a better face, or tell our story a little bit better in terms of public education and its significance?
Well, I've historically been an anti-voucher guy for my entire career. This is my 39th year in public education and 28th year as superintendent of schools, and I've historically pushed back on that pretty hard. But in Texas, at least, I think that ship has sailed. I think when the legislature comes back into session in February, they have done enough work to make sure that they have the votes necessary, I believe, to finally get the voucher issue across the finish line. And so I'm about to the point of not putting too much more time, effort, energy into fighting that battle and figuring out how we just embrace it. So to answer your question, I think we just need to be the ones to continue to verbalize the fact that public education educates all. And I've never been opposed to competition, but if we're going to have competition and we're going to funnel public funds to private education, that's fine as long as we're all on the same playing field and they have the same accountability that we do, and they take all like we take all. But if we are going to funnel public funds to private institutions that can continue to pick and choose the students that they educate, then they're always going to have a higher accountability rating than we do, because we take them all. And you're probably not familiar with Jamie Vollmer, but he's written several books on that topic. And he started out in the ice cream business and then eventually moved over to the education topic. But when he tells the story of when the blueberries were coming down the conveyor belt, somebody asked him, "What do you do with the ones that have faults or issues?" And he said, "Well, we throw them out." And that is the issue. That's the crux of the issue right there. We educate them all, and private schools pick and choose and only take the cream of the crop. And so to compare outcomes and accountability levels is a misnomer and a disservice, in my opinion.
Well, thank you, Dr. Floyd. How do people find you, either on LinkedIn or your website? Or
Yep, they can. My email address is Darrell.Floyd. That's Darrell.Floyd, Floyd, at BRISD.net. That stands for Blue Ridge ISD.net. So that's my email address. They can contact us, or our website. Either one has a link there that you can also contact me that way. So be happy to visit with anybody on any of these topics, and I appreciate the opportunity today.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Ed Leader's Edge podcast is produced by the Journalistic Learning Initiative, Please check out our latest books, Language Arts in Action from W.W. Norton Publishing, and Raising Empowered Learners from Rauman and Littlefield. For more information about our work, please visit journalisticlearning.org or edleaderedge.org. Thanks for listening.